What is going on? My name is Eric Greenstein.
And this is Bobby Sharma, Eric's partner and friend in Southern Florida.
That's right. That's right. And welcome to our open exclusives. We do this once a month, sometimes twice a month if you're lucky. And we have awesome, amazing speakers come on, introduce what they do, and they also introduce their platform or their tools that they'll be able to use in your real estate, right? To help your tools grow and to help your portfolio grow. So today we decided to have Alex come on and demonstrate Threshold, and we're really excited to have him. So Alex, my man, you can go ahead. You have the floor.
Perfect. Well, great to meet you all. My name's Alex Stringfellow. My company is Threshold Management. We're a tech-first property management company based here in South Florida. Founded by myself, background in my family's real estate business in Ohio, and then recently in consulting and in operations. My partner, software engineer, his background also in his family's real estate business in LA. So a lot of experience managing multifamily properties. And now we want to take that, combine it with our tech knowledge, and really build the most tech-forward property management company out there. With that, I can jump into my presentation. Just a moment. All right, can you see it?
Yep.
So we'd like to say it's property management without the BS. We've been through the ropes here. We know what works, what doesn't, and what kind of tricks are out there. So we've really tried to build the best property management for the everyday user. So the easy times, frankly speaking, are over. This came across my desk last week, which is a graph of how rents have trended in the US since 2018. Things went crazy during COVID. Everyone was succeeding as an investor. People were tripping over themselves to build rental property. That story has now changed. Things are starting to float close towards zero annual rent growth. And so the easy times are over. And so it's going to really be important how good of an operator you are in order to reach the cash flow that you promised your investors and also see the return that you're expecting. It's no longer just rents always go up. I can buy and I know that 2 years from now, rents will be higher, cap rates will be lower, and things will be easy. So I actually was speaking to an agent yesterday. He set the rental record at the Mark last year for the whole building, which is a condo building in Brickell. Now he's had it listed for 30 days and he's had 0 showings. So I thought that was quite stark to put it into perspective of how the market has changed. Last year in South Florida was crazy. This year, top end condos are sitting on the market 30 plus days with no showing. So the new winners are going to be the ones who succeed in operations. And so I've laid out here what we as a company see as the 8 core pillars of property management, and then everything that goes into them. And I won't go through each of these, but I do want to identify the vacancy as the silent killer, especially as rents are going down, rents are softening. People have a lot more supply than demand now. That vacancy is really going to cripple your projected NOI. It's going to hurt your cash flow. And so it really becomes important to be smart about your vacancy and smart about your operations so that you can maximize every dollar in your property. So here I want to take an opportunity before I jump into what is Threshold to share some of our tips and advice on reducing your vacancy, specifically around leasing, renewals, and turnovers, where we see is the biggest opportunity to maximize your cash flow as a rental investor. Sure, there's a lot you can do in terms of maintenance or in terms of accounting, but those don't really move the needle. What really moves the needle is that place staying vacant for a week longer than you expected. So in terms of renewals, this one's the secret to effective property management. You get great tenants, you want to keep them as long as possible, and it's way easier to keep a good tenant than to go and find a new one. So the way we look at it is you want to get ahead of the curve. And so 90 days before expiration, figure out what their pain points are, get a read of where they're planning to go, if they're excited to stay, if they're definitely leaving because it's a life event, or if they're on the fence. If they're on the fence, it's an opportunity to capture them, figure out what their concerns are. And not everything might be in your budget, especially if they're asking for repairs or new features, but work with them, really make them feel like they've been taken care of so they can want to continue to live there. And then 75 days before expiration. And again, I'm using these numbers based on Florida and just the 60-day requirements for notice in Florida. 75 days before expiration, make an offer figure out what the market comps are and make them an offer at 95% of the market comps. And so this is a lesson I actually learned doing commercial real estate in office. You don't want to try and aim for renewal at 100%. It just won't happen. You'll end up getting into a negotiation. They'll start to want to move, especially in residential. It'll be way easier for them to search new properties, figure out different options, play it against you. But if you're able to come in at 95% of market, you're still getting your numbers that you expected, but you're reducing the friction and you're pretty much ensuring that they'll stay for another term. And then you want to follow up earnestly. So you've made that offer at 95% of market. Keep following up until that 60 days remains, but be firm that at that 60 days, they have to make a decision per the law. Either they stay with you and they take your offer, or they leave. And at that 60 days, if they're going to leave, then now suddenly you're ready to start leasing and you're prepared. You're not caught flat-footed 10 days before the lease expires. But really, it starts earlier than that. You want to be responsive. This is what we build around tenant communication, around the services we offer our tenants. Make them feel like you're listening to them. Be straightforward with their requests, be responsive, and really help them make it feel like it's a home. People will have a lot more trouble leaving and moving and even negotiating against you if their apartment feels like a home, because you've given them small things that they need, or you've allowed them to make small decorative changes that makes it feel more homey. I then want to touch on leasing. So leasing is the big one that everybody thinks of when it comes to property management and to owning rental units. Without leasing, there is no money. But units aren't flying off the shelf anymore, so it's really going to take every trick in marketing to minimize your vacancy. The first one is pricing it correctly. In our opinion, it's better to price it just below market comp. So let's say market comps are 2,100, price it at 2,050. That way you're guaranteeing that your lead pipeline is going to be full. You'll be getting buzz. Agents will be kind of tripping over themselves to tell their clients that they should be looking at this property. You'll get offers coming in, and then you can always play them against each other. And one thing to keep in mind is if you price too high, you'll only get a few offers that come in. Typically, those will be from tenants who also don't pass the screening for properties that are priced closer to market. It's really important to cross-post to relevant sites, especially Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of tools out there that allow you to cross-post, but Facebook Marketplace you have to do manually. But it's got a lot of inbound organic traffic. It really allows you to take the ropes on communication. And so we see that as a good channel. And then follow up immediately with the leads. So this is something that's worked well in our core business, actually, in property management. When we have new inbound clients that have a property that they want us to manage, they send us a message. We are incredibly aggressive on immediately following up and just being there on the phone to say, hey, we just got your request for a quote. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. And that creates immediate rapport with them. They feel that this is the kind of responsiveness they can expect with you. And so tenants will feel the same way. When you're immediately responsive to the request to tour, you're likely going to be immediately responsive to their request if there's, for example, a flood in the basement one night. And then photography is key here. So as an example, the photo I shared here, make sure they're well lit, well framed. That'll make the properties lease significantly faster, especially as more people are on their phones, more people care about the pictures than maybe 20 years ago when they were postings in the back of a newspaper and all text. Then the last piece where there's a place to maximize your ROI and reduce your vacancy is turnovers. And so if you're not careful, this is the easiest place to lose cash flow. A couple tips that we have here is set a certain move out date with a resident. So if they're on a year-long lease, at that 60-day mark, they have to have given notice, and the last day of their lease is their move out date. Make sure that date is clear in their head. Also inform them of the holdover cost. If your lease ends on June 30th, you tell the tenant, hey, you have to be out June 30th. If you're not, per the lease, the holdover costs are $200 per day. Typically, they're set high enough when you write your lease that they discourage the tenant from staying, which messes up your plans with future tenants that are coming in. We suggest asking to walk the unit 60 days before move out unintrusively. You can do it on their schedule, but that allows you to log all the damages. It puts you ahead of the curve when it comes to the turnover and figuring out which crew you need, what team, what supplies you need. And then arrange with the tenant to give the tours within that 60-day window. Not all will accept, and this is where it's important to have it written into your lease. And then also just work with the tenant, work with them to set up their preferred time of day, especially when they work from home. Is it weekdays? Is it weekends? Is it afternoons, mornings, whatever? And then you can also set that in your listings as well as the preferred time. But that allows you to get prospective tenants through there a lot earlier, which means you're much more likely to close a lease before it actually does become fully vacant. And then here, it's important, if you've got 60 days before move out, you've logged all the damages, then give your cleaners and your repair crew 2 weeks notice on the exact date. then follow up a week before and 3 days before. This just ensures that you are top priority in their mind. They're not going to forget about you, and that work will get done on the day you expect. So again, you can minimize the vacant days in the turnover. So with there, I just want to pause. Are there any questions or other advice that I could help with in terms of leasing or in terms of property management in your own properties?
So I have a question. If a pipe breaks or my toilet,
Any maintenance issue,
yes.
how is that handled?
Yeah, so I can jump into threshold then. This was just us sharing our advice and what we've seen as best practices for leasing, but let me jump into threshold now. I wanted to share some value with the group as well before just pitching.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex.
Definitely. So when it comes to threshold, we're the full package. We handle on-the-ground property management, and we've got our own tech built into the back end. So that's leasing, maintenance, accounting, resident relationship, turnovers, evictions. It's everything it takes to cash flow that property and keep it in good shape from the moment you purchase it and hand us the keys to the moment you ultimately want to sell it, whether that's 1 year or 20 years from now. And so digging into more detail on the leasing side, we handle everything in terms of marketing, touring, screening. There's no leasing commissions. I want to make that clear, is we believe that we should get the best cash flow we can for you. And if that means renewing the tenants, we don't want to ever be disincentivized where we want to get rid of a good tenant so we can charge a leasing commission to put in a new tenant. We handle all the maintenance. We have 24/7 live local maintenance coverage. We do it in-house, so you can ensure the problem will be taken care of in the most cost-effective manner. In terms of the accounting, full service trust accounting, we follow the Florida escrow laws as well. Everything's fully bonded through our brokerage, so you can have confidence on the money flows. We handle all the resident relationship that starts from the moment that they submit an interest to tour the property until the moment that they move out. We obviously send them the deposit as well after they move out. But we're there for them 24/7. If there's a maintenance issue, for example, as you said, their toilet's clogged and they have a concern, well, they can just jump right onto the resident platform we built. It literally takes 3 buttons to submit that. That immediately pings us. If they tag it as an emergency, for example, their condo flooded in the middle of the night, it's 3 a.m., they submit that. That actually immediately dials a phone that rings our team, and they're on the problem straight away. So you'll never have to worry that this isn't going to get taken care of for 2 days. You have full transparency from the moment you put in the ticket, you mark how urgent it is, and then we get it taken care of in that time frame. Turnovers, we've got the industry leading turnover time. Like I said, some of the tips I shared earlier on how we minimize that vacancy so that we can maximize your cash flow. And then evictions are one of the scariest, most frustrating parts of being a property owner. We're with you every step of the way. We coordinate everything both on the ground, on the legal side, so that you can have confidence that place will get moved out, fixed up as soon as possible. So this is where it comes to the transparency that we give the owner. A lot of our frustrations with property management back in the day has come from 2 things. One, they don't have aligned incentives with us, meaning they're incentivized to charge us for stuff that shouldn't be charged for because that's how they make money. And then the other piece is they're not transparent. They do a really bad job of communicating when there's a problem or what the leasing activity has been. And so me as the owner of this $400,000 property, I shouldn't be in the dark knowing if anybody's coming to tour it, what the concerns with the tours have been. I shouldn't be in the dark if there's maintenance issues, recurring problems, or if there's an eviction about to happen because the tenant is 15 days on the rent. So what we do is we've essentially built our own database that allows us to push all this information in real time to the owner. We've got alerts set up, but then if you ever want to check, just see how your property's doing, let's say you're sitting waiting for an Uber and you're like, okay, let me see how my investment is doing. You can jump in here and get every piece of granular information in real time. This is far and above what anybody offers right now on the market. Typically, it's you get a monthly report that's submitted to the online portal at the end of each month, and then you can review it. No, we decided, look, as the owner, you've invested a lot of money into this. You've also trusted us to look after your property. You should have real-time access to every detail of what's going on. So you can see the leasing activity here, for example. You can see the multi-channel resident communication. You can see the accounting, everything. And then we've built this whole thing for total peace of mind. So one of the key things is it's important to be local. We do have plans to expand nationally and maybe even internationally, but right now we're focused on South Florida, really building out 24/7 support and having the local team of handyman, contractors, cleaners, plumbers, insured, vetted, and most importantly, we know that they do good work and that they can respond quickly. That's what you care about as the owner. That's what the resident cares about as well when they're paying the rent. A lot of concern from owners about what happens if there's an eviction, especially now as there's layoffs coming. How do I handle that? We take all the pressure out of that and manage it completely. And then we're, of course, fully licensed, insured, and experienced in property management, fully licensed in real estate in the state of Florida, and fully insured. So this is, again, to deliver full peace of mind that when you use Threshold as your property manager, from the moment you buy the property to the moment you sell, everything's taken care of. You know the money's going to show up on time. It'll cash flow. You'll be notified of any potential issues, kept in the loop, and really have a seamless experience when you work with us. We're building out the technology to make all that possible, and that technology allows us to continuously improve the experience for you as the user. In terms of the pricing, I have to think this is the most effective pricing out there. We do it based on the net. And so, as I mentioned earlier about the aligned incentives, doing it on the net means that we don't make any money until the property cash flows for you. So there's no leasing commissions, upcharges, kickbacks, or fees. Simply whatever money we actually earn you, we earn a portion of. You could almost think of it as if we're a partner with you in the deal. We don't own any equity, but we just earn a small share when the property actually performs. So in this case, we charge 10% of the net. The net is actually collected rent minus operating expenses in that month. We built out a little comparison calculator here as well that you can use after the presentation to just check out how much it costs. For example, if you plug in what your current property manager is charging you, the monthly rent, the PITI, and you can get a nice breakdown here of how we compare. And so we'd like to offer something special to the South Florida real estate community. It's been really great to know Bobby and to know Eric. And so we'd like to offer any listeners 2 months risk-free. They can decide, look, I've got this property. I'm not sure I'm ready to manage it, or I'm not happy with the existing property manager. Hell, I'm even burnt out self-managing it. You can come on with Threshold. You can try us out 2 months risk-free. If you're not happy at the end of the 60 days, we'll give you back our management fee. We'll part as friends, and then maybe one day in the future, you'll be willing to use us. But it's really easy to onboard your property. It just takes 30 minutes. It's really easy to cancel too. We want this to essentially serve as the tool for you to be able to go out there and buy more property and grow your portfolio because you have a trusted property manager back home. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions, both in terms of Threshold and in terms of anything else I can answer.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. And Eric, we'll take turns, but as far as Alex, can you go back to that slide with the comparison between traditional property management and your model?
One moment, yeah.
I think it was the second to last slide. The one after this, I believe. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you're saying it's your fees are net of all the operating expenses, including mortgage and taxes, insurance.
Yeah, great question. So it's net of any operating expenses that we can control. So that's things like maintenance, eviction, legal fees, other things that are outside of our control. For example, HOA fees or mortgage. We're not able to control that. But if we can bring down the maintenance cost, the eviction cost, other things like that, that is where the net comes into play.
Okay, so you let's say a property cash flows. Okay, so I got it. I think I got it. So the one on the right is the other traditional model. The one on the left is your model.
Yep.
And what you're saying is with Threshold, an investor, a landlord would make 37% more cash flow per month.
Correct.
With your services.
That's exactly right. And so we assume $3,000 of monthly rent. We assume $2,000 goes off the bat to PITI, HOA, what have you. And then the way traditional property managers work is they charge you a percent of the first month's rent for leasing. It's,
Yeah.
if you're lucky, it's actually 50%. Sometimes it could even be as high as 100%, but let's say
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah.
There's a maintenance factor of how much maintenance you have to do on your property to just keep things up and running, 2 to 4%, let's say 2%. And then competitor fees is a percentage of the rent. So most property managers charge 10% of gross rent. And so once we factored all that in, the threshold managed property would net you as the owner $646. That's money in the bank to you every single month after all expenses as the owner. Whereas with a traditional property manager, you'd only be earning $503. So substantial difference of $143, 28% more cash each month. That can really add up.
Okay, so you have your PM fees are $294, whereas their PM fees are $300.
Yep.
Okay. But that's only a difference of $6. So I'm trying to. Okay, the maintenance.
So if you see on the, we can go through it line by line. So on the maintenance, we assume that it's 2% of rent, $60. What we found is traditional property managers typically have a little add-on to the cost of maintenance, somewhere between 10 and 20%. So we factor that here. They charge an admin fee, an upcharge, what have you.
Yeah.
And then the other big one is the leasing commission here as well. So the 10% includes the leasing on our side. So this property management fee also includes the leasing, whereas on this case, they're charging the property management fee plus a leasing fee.
Okay, I got it.
And so we can toggle around with these as like 8% or what have you, bring this up, bring this down.
Okay.
To match your exact specific case.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric, you had a question, right?
So, no, I like that. By the way, I like the comparison feature. So is that's on your website, right? And I guess when a new client, maybe me, right, wants to go and check out how my duplex would do if I was renting with you and I was renting with obviously another property management company, which is cool. I don't think I've actually seen this before. I mean, me personally. So I think that's pretty cool to show new potential clientele. I also saw that you do have your own handyman and contractors, I guess, like a list or a Rolodex, right?
We do, yes. They've been vetted, they're insured. Yes, we've got that together, and that's why we're keeping our service area tight, just Miami and Broward right now, so we can give the best service there.
Okay, and how many I guess you can say how many, let's start with contractors do you have currently, and you don't have to go into detail, just the amount of average what you have in Broward County and Miami-Dade, and then also how many customers do you have currently?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of contractors, we've got I believe we've got 5 handymen down here in Miami-Dade, 2 in Broward, and then we've got a cleaning staff of 3 in Miami-Dade and 1 in Broward. And then in both places, we've got HVAC, plumbing, and electrical connections as well. Oh, and locksmith connections too.
Oh yeah, that's important. I've figured that out firsthand when I owned a single family and 2.5 hours away from here, and I was doing Airbnb.
Definitely, it's really important to have people you can trust and people that you can trust that are close by.
Oh man, yeah. Definitely needed you then. But
no Airbnb for us though. We're focused just on midterm and long term. I think that's probably a discussion for another day, but I could definitely share my thoughts in the future.
Understood. That's awesome, man. Again, I think this is great. I've seen obviously other property management companies, but the way that you have this set up, I also saw that you could on your through your website, you can see the cash flow coming in and income and expenses. Is that what you can also see on there?
Yep, you can see all that coming in. So you can jump in here. This is just a demo account, but you can see the monthly cash flow coming in. You can see the leasing activity in stages, so you don't have to have anxiety as an owner. Are we doing enough to lease it? Who's in the pipeline? How much traction am I getting on this property? You can see the resident communications. We're building this out currently, but multi-channel. Everybody in our team who's messaging the resident, their responses back. So you feel like you're essentially supervising the team whenever you want to jump in and see it. Obviously, you can see all the financials, the money in, the money out, maintenance tickets, and then this one's just set up with one property, but you could also see your portfolio that you manage with us here.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I like, definitely like everything, like the whole layout, you know, design. Very nice, man. Very
No,
nice.
we appreciate that. That's one of the benefits that comes from, I would say we're probably the only property manager that writes our own code. And so we're able to iterate very quickly, respond to customer needs. For example, we put this together because we thought it would be useful. We were able to write the code in a couple of days and then be able to share it. So we like to move quickly like that.
Cool.
What about what counties are you currently providing coverage for?
Miami-Dade and Broward.
Okay, and who stays on top of like Section 8 regulation or eviction regulation or those type late payments? How do you encourage your tenants to pay on time? Do you do a automatic withdrawal from their account, or is it that they have to ACH or Zelle the money to you? How do you take
yeah, great question. So in terms of staying on top of regulations, as a company, we're required by the law to stay on top of regulations. We do a check-in every month on that. We don't handle any Section 8. We don't have plans to right now. It's just a slightly different setup, quite different processes. I've done them in the past of how you essentially have two payers. You've got the tenant, you've got the government. And so we're not equipped to handle that yet. We will in the future. When it comes to rent payments, it's very simple. We've built out a flow in our tenant platform that you can access via your phone or the computer. It is the most feature-rich tenant platform out there on the market. Actually, we spent a lot of time putting that together to give the tenants the best experience. You can pay your rent via credit card, or you can pay it via one-time ACH, or it's very easy just to set up an auto debit where every single month it pulls out the rent from your account so that you pay on time and the owner knows that their rent's coming on time too.
Okay. Okay, and what if there's insufficient funds? Then how do you handle that?
Yeah, so with insufficient funds, our system triggers a notification to us if a payment bounces, and then Stripe handles it on the back end. So they're a payments provider. They handle kind of the ACH messaging back to the customer's bank saying, look, you've been charged. And then we just make a charge to the customer as well via our accounting system, or to the tenant, sorry, via our accounting system for the insufficient funds fee.
I got you.
Most of it's handled by Stripe and the rest is handled by the accounting system we've built.
Cool. Got it. Got it. Very cool. Very nice. Thank you, Alex.
Not bad.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for the demo. Everything, like I said, is very clear. You know, I do believe that we are definitely leading into the generation of you know, online, obviously, but the way that your platform is set up, right, is, to me, is perfect. I'm not just, you know, saying that. This is actually the first time I've seen it, you know, because but it is nice, man. And you know, we appreciate you coming on here and telling us about it. And I'm sure that a lot of work, it seems like you put a lot of work into this, and I can tell just from you demonstrating and you know, all the questions that Bobby and I asked. I'm sure, you know, you were asked before. Actually, I got one more question. All right.
Sure.
I'm sure this is everyone's question, right? Why would I hire you instead of keeping my property management company currently?
Yeah. So If you're happy with your property management company, great. The only thing I would point you to is check out our calculator and see how much you're overpaying for your property management services. If you're not happy with your property management company, then our real sell is we've got the aligned incentives to take care of your property the way you would take care of it as an owner. We only make money when you do. And I think that's a really powerful thing to say is we're not there to nickel and dime you. Incentives are 100% aligned. And then you have the kind of transparency that's probably even better than you would get if you were self-managing the property yourself. And so you can come in with a bird's eye view and know everything that's going on day or night from your phone, from your laptop. And that's really an advancement in how property management technology has worked so far. Plus we're local, we've got 24/7 service and we're experienced, but that comes with the territory.
One of the challenges, Alex, is getting qualified tenants. And look, everybody posts on the same websites and so on. Like, how do you compete in the online where tenants are searching for, look, everybody goes to Zillow and maybe Zumper or HotPads, whatever the sites are nowadays. How do you market the properties better than others?
Yeah, so there's a couple techniques. I agree that is a kind of a barrier that we want to build the technology to get better at there. A couple techniques that we use is one, I think it's important to price it well. And I think you do yourself a great disservice by, and there's a lot of people in the situation right now, pricing it too high because they think the market is where it was 6 months ago. Pricing it low gives you a really good advantage because you get a ton of inbound in the pipeline. And taking it from my experience in sales, you want the full pipeline, and then you can work with those people. You can either have them submit new offers or you can offer other things to them. And so take that pipeline and you can monetize it. No pipeline, you have no prospect at all. So I think the key piece is pricing it correctly. You don't want to underprice it by any means, but really be fair about where you put it. The next piece is photography. Everybody's on their phone all day long. They spend all day looking at Instagram photos, which are perfectly curated, perfectly lit, perfectly framed. You're posting your property taken on your iPhone 6 at a slight angle at nighttime, your property's not going to move because it just doesn't have that curb. That's like the new curb appeal pretty much. Nobody's going to drive to your property, but the curb appeal is how they see it on the website. So really investing in photography that's well lit, well framed. And then the last piece is the way people write the listings. You see these giant blocks of text and everybody buries the lead. Like you've got a lot to talk about your property, but you start off with like some words like quaint, beautiful little 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments in this. Well, really, you don't want to bury the lead. The selling point is it's fully furnished and there's free parking and it's short-term welcome. That's the selling point of why you're better than every other property around you. Put that up front, put that in all caps. The rest is really just fluff that they can read from the features page. But so getting smart with how you put together the sun here. Being smart about how you put together that listing description. We've seen a lot of people use ChatGPT. Oh my gosh, the sun is blinding me. We've seen a lot of people use ChatGPT to write their listing descriptions. I think it's a disservice, to be honest, because it writes the way it's used to. It's read a whole bunch of hundreds of thousands of listing descriptions, and then it uses that to write another listing description. But your listing description will sound like the other 100,000. And so really kind of use your brain, figure out what are the key selling points of the house and put those up front so that you can immediately differentiate from the next person.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. It also looks the same too. From like the Chat GPT and all the other.
It does.
Yeah. Like I can tell immediately when someone's using it. I can. It's I think we outsmarted.
If it was those descriptions would pretty much be gone. Like they don't tell you much that's not in the list of features. And so they should really just be used for the key selling points. Keep it snappy.
Yep. I think we're gonna oversmart AI. What do you think about that?
Yes.
Nice. Great. Bobby, you got any other additional questions or?
No. This is great. Alex, we're holding our summit on August 19th in Fort Lauderdale area. So if you're around, come by, maybe tell your clients and your network of folks. We're going to have a real estate summit August 19th, a full day from 9:30 a.m. till 4. Then we do some networking, happy hour. We will send you some details. We'd love for you to be there as an attendee.
Sure. Yeah, I just wrote that down, but if you wouldn't mind sending me an email, I can get that on my calendar.
Got it.
Perfect.
You got it. Thank you, Alex. And Eric, thank you for setting this up. Great product, great service.
Yep.
We hope you get a lot of traction, and we're in your corner. We love startups, and we'll cheer you on.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to present, and we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right, Alex. Take it easy.
All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.